Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be doing some more of what we were doing last class with the if statements, except that we want to take it one step further. We want to check not only that one plane, but we want to check the whole cube so that we can place a pad. And so we're going to get into how to check nodes and their attributes. So we know how to set their attributes. Now, can we go while we're running the game? Can we check a node and see what attributes it has? Let me show you. Okay, so far we've designed this to only lay a pad at a certain altitude. So if you're up too high, it won't create these ugly features. Now this is not a very good pad, right? There's nothing underneath it. So what we need to do, what I would like to do today, is fill in all underneath it. But I do not want to change the ground. So, for instance, if I was to come in and build a pad, I would place blocks one at a time on top of the existing ground and not affect the ground underneath, the dirt and the rock. So, but I want to do that with code. So how do we do that? Well, let's look here at our code so far. What we have is first of all, 2 nested for loops. With the 2, we are able to create a plane in 2 dimensions, the x and the z. So what if we wanted to go down? What if we wanted to go down? Well, that if you can see that correlation, 2 if statements creates the ability to change in 2 directions. Well, then maybe we should add a 3rd for loop. So nest a 3rd one in there so that we can then change the y and change in the up and down direction. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's do that. We're gonna jump down below the second for loop declaration. We're gonna write for all the way down to the autocomplete. Press enter and then change this to k. And it very nice feature. It highlights the I so that you can change it to whatever. Because of course, if we left it as I, we would be overwriting whatever this value would be, and it just wouldn't be good. So, all right. So we have k. We have I, j, and k. These are three numbers, or 3 variables that are going to hold numbers, ranging from 1 to 10. Right. So we want to copy all of our placing text. So you select it. Press Control X, and then up here, place it. And now, if we, I'm going to go over. Now, if we come in and instead of having a static value for y, we want it to be dynamic, and the one that we're going to use is k. But if you use just k, then that's going to say, all right, starting from 1 all the way up to 10, but we want to go backwards. We want to go down. And so I think the best way to do that, the simplest way to do that would be -k. And so then that basically, every time the k changes, would be -1. So it'd just be down 1, and then it would go in the negative direction. All right, so if you think about this for just a second, what it will do is it will create a cube in the downward direction. And it would create a cube of messe because we are setting the node in that direction, right? Well, like I said before, we want to check the environment. We want to check to see if the space that we are about to build in is not already filled with dirt or stone, things like that. So how do we do that? Well, there are many ways of going about this. You could check based on this position. You could get the node. And this is very similar to what we've done up here. What we've done up here is in getting the node, right? So get node. We would get the node. You could check to see if it's air. The thing is that in this case, we have snow on the ground, at least in my case, and you will eventually experience this. There's snow on the ground. So you don't want it to place on top of the snow because there'll be a gap. So what we're going to do is we are going to each position in this cube, right? In this cube that we are searching and setting, we want to test each spot to see if it has certain attributes. And this is what brings in groups or attributes. So certain nodes share certain attributes. And without getting into too much detail, let me just go ahead and show you what we're going to do, and hopefully in the process it makes sense. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to define a local node. We're going to set that equal to Minetest.getNode at that position that we have just defined. So we've got the node, and now what we want to do is we want to see if it has an attribute called buildable2. And I'm going to define a variable with the name buildable. All right, so we've got a variable name declared there, so it's a local variable, buildable. So then how do we get the attribute? Well, we use a method, Minetest.registered with a D _ nodes. And what this is actually a table that is created when the game is started that basically it's just a list of every single node in the game. And the way that we access the various nodes is by name. So what we do is we'd say register _ node, and then we can do is we can go through and check any of the attributes. And in this case, we're wanting to check buildable. So, buildable2 specifically. So that's, and then what it'll do is it'll return a true or false value. So that's just when you set the buildable attribute, you can either set it as true or false. So there we have dumped into a variable called buildable. Oh dear. A true or false value. A true or false value. And if you remember from if statements, that's what we need in order to run code inside of an if statement. So if we write buildable here, did I spell that right? Oh. Buildable, just inside of that for loop, the if statement. The if statement will run depending on what buildable is. So if it's false, if it's not buildable, then it will not run. So if the node in question is not buildable2, and sorry, I should have explained what buildable is. Buildable, if it is true, that means that when you place a node at that location, it will replace it. So for instance, air is buildable2. If you place a node, that node will take up the spot that air used to have. For instance, also snow. Snow is buildable2. Leaves and things like that may or may not be buildable2. So that would be something to check. But so once we've determined whether the location is buildable2, then if it is, we're going to go ahead and build to it. And then we can delete this one. So let's save this and see if this works. And it did not work. The reason why is because I was getting the node at the one position that the node was at. We need to use position 2, which is the one that is constantly changing depending on where we are in our nested for loop. So save that and run that. And there you go. So when I place a node, now it's actually it places below, and I can place it. Yeah, that doesn't. You can see here that the ground down here is not being changed, but just for demonstration purposes as well, I'll dig straight down and show you that, yeah, none of it is. But of course, if I do this, it'll fill these in. Well, I guess it didn't fill those. Why did it not fill those in? Oh, that makes sense. This is 10 deep, so it's hitting air, it's seeing air, and it quits building. So I guess that's one way to stop that. So, but you can see there it places and it builds through the snow, but it does not go down into. So if I just go down a couple and then place, it should work. Yep. And so that is how you could place a pad. Now what I would probably do is I would change out the messe and I would actually make it dirt instead of messe, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a pad. And once we've done this step, then we're going to go ahead and put a stone perimeter around the edge and make it look kind of nice. So that's all I got for you today. Just copy it and check the assignment to see if I've written out any special instructions for what I want you to do with this, what I want you to do with this, these ideas that I've taught you today. Thanks for watching, guys.